Hey, what's up you guys? It's the Curious Owl here, and today is going to be a first video for a series of videos that will probably be on this channel until the day it dies, which is book reviews. If many of you guys don't know anything about me or just about what I do, I love reading books. I'm such a big bookworm. It's crazy. It's just something I've always loved to do, and it's actually something that I want to get into as an adult. Like, I want to end up being an editor and publisher in a fiction-based publishing house, and eventually become an author myself. Like, I really want to do that. Basically, what these book reviews will consist of is me giving a background information about the book itself or series, which in this case it will be a series of books that I have recently finished. I'll give you a bit of background on the series itself, maybe a little bit about the author if I know anything, some of the characters and the setting in order for you to understand the story a little bit without spoiling anything, for those of you who have not read it, or them. And also going into things that I found very interesting as I go through each of these different things, like explaining the book or books. And then, like, it's pretty much just going to be an honest opinion and a retelling, like a crash course of what these books will be about. And if you're interested, I will leave descriptions in the, or leave links in the description for how to get them on Amazon. I'll just leave like the links for like the order, where to order them. So the series of books that I will be reviewing for this first video is the Legend series by Marie Lu. This series is probably one of my most favorite series I've read so far. Actually, probably one of my most favorite series in a long time. Just because it's so captivating and there's no way to tell like what's gonna happen next. Like, Marie Lu did a really nice job of leaving everything unexpected. Like, you could have an idea of what could happen, but it's entirely possible that it could be the exact opposite of what really happens in the story, which I was surprised by. When I just finished the last book a couple of days ago, and I remember sitting there going, wait, what just happened? Oh. So yeah, that was basically my reaction to it, and it honestly was, because it was so unexpected. I'm not going to spoil anything, but just if you have not read these books, you need to now. I think honestly it is one of the most amazing modern dystopian teen fiction novels. But honestly, to me right now, as from reading it, it's one of the best series of novels that I've read that is consistent, that is very, it follows a good storyline, and it's very realistic. Like, it's scary how much of the stuff that happens in this book could really happen in real life, which is why it's a dystopian novel. Most dystopian novels that I've read have always been like, you know, end of the world kind of thing, or something's happening to cause the end of the world, whereas like this one, it's more along the lines of kind of how Divergent is, where it's this really strange new government that's come around and things have changed, like rules have changed, there's people have like certain jobs they have to do kind of thing, and it's scary because it's possible that this could happen. I feel like though Divergent is a little bit more far-fetched than how this story is, but it still relates to how like the whole structure is of the government itself. So now to get into the story of the environment and the characters. Allow me to set the scene for you. It's the 23rd century, and the United States has basically gone to war with itself, and has split into two separate regions. There's what's called the Republic of America, where basically our story takes place. This is pretty much everything from the middle of the United States to the Pacific Ocean. Basically, the city of Los Angeles is where we start out with our main characters, but then it kind of jumps around to different places in that Republic area, and then we'll eventually jump into the colonies in the second book, which is basically the entire right side of the United States. The thing is, though, is this is a little strange because it's not all of that side. What happens is in the 23rd century, or I think just prior to the 23rd century, a flood happened. the Atlantic Ocean sea level had basically elevated to where it flooded the entire eastern seaboard. So all of the states from Maine to Florida were completely wiped out by this flood. And so now the colonies is actually smaller than the Republic, but I think they're just as strong, if not stronger, which shows in the third installment of the book. Basically, the story takes place mostly in the Republic, but again, it does go into the colonies. That's in the second book, and a little bit into the third one, but not actually like into the colonies. More like there's somebody in the colonies communicating into the Republic. But basically, what happens is there are two main characters to the story. One I think is more this focus than the other, but she's kind of like they're kind of like always together. The main character of the story is Day Wing. Daniel Alton Wing is his real name, but he goes by Day. He is basically this vigilante. He's a 15-year-old boy living in Los Angeles, in the streets, basically in the slums of Los Angeles at this point. He basically grows up in a very rough neighborhood. His family was very poor when he was young, and he failed what's called a trial exam. Now, the trial exams in the Republic basically was, if you think of like how The Giver was, now I could be wrong because it's been a long time since I've read The Giver, but from what I remember, there was like this test that they gave the kids in order to decide where they were going to go and who they were supposed to marry and how many kids they were supposed to have, kind of thing. Again, I could be wrong, but that's all I remember from The Giver. I could be mixing it up with another book, but I don't know. Anyway, Dave fails this exam, and basically his whole life is turned upside down. But the story actually takes place when he's 15, after all this stuff has happened to him. He's lost both of his parents, he's separated from his two brothers, and he's trying to figure out where his youngest brother is. He has no idea where he is. Basically, the government has just taken him, and he's trying to find answers. So he steals, he lies, he cheats people out of money just to find information about his brother. So my feelings on Day is I think he's a very influential character. He's very, very powerful, and he's very relatable, I think, to a lot of kids, especially those who have basically lived on the streets. Like, he knows how to live on the streets. It's very rough for him, but he will do anything to find his brother. Then there is the second main character of the story, which is 15-year-old girl June Paris, who is vastly different than how Day is. Where Day was basically living off the streets, June was living comfortably in the richest section of the city of Los Angeles. She's a military prodigy, basically scored a perfect score on her exams, and became one of the most strongest military agents that the entire Republic has ever had. She's pretty much like on her way to becoming like the new leader or elector, as the Republic calls them. It's very possible she could become an elector, but she hasn't quite risen to that level yet. She's a very headstrong girl, knows what she's doing, she's very calculated, very analytical, does not do anything without thinking it through first. And she can like tell the measurements of a room just by looking at it. Like, she could tell you the dimensions of it, she could tell you how you can escape from it, how to move around a room to knock out opponents and stuff like that. It's crazy. She just knows everything. And she comes from a military family. Her older brother is a military officer. Her father was in the military, and I don't think her mother was, but I'm pretty sure her father was. So it's something she always grew up with. Throughout the story, the first book, she meets Day and finds out more about him, finds out a lot about what happened to her parents. Both of her parents died before in the story of this book, like the pre-story, basically. Both her parents died in a car accident, and finds out something about what exactly happened to them. Basically, doesn't like what happens, and pretty much questions her entire faith and loyalty in her country. And so it's just like, it's one of those things where like, she relates to people because it's that questioning of faith, that questioning of loyalty that some people have to deal with, whether or not what they're doing is actually right by them, and if it's right, if it's, honorable, stuff like that. And it's interesting to see how these two characters, Day and June, are very, very different people from where they came from, but they come together and they just mesh so well together. It's basically, they're like yin and yang to each other. They just come together so harmoniously. It's astounding that Marie Lu gives these two such contrast, but such like complementary elements at the same time. It's one of the reasons why I love this book so much. It's very rare that I feel like you find a true complement to a main character with another main character. I feel like many books nowadays, it's just like they're the same person and everything, and don't get me wrong, I like that, but I think it's a lot more interesting if you have two separate characters who are very different from each other, finding little things in common with each other, or even big things in common. Overall, I think this book is a really good book. I think it's really easy to read. It's really easy to follow, so I would highly recommend it for anyone that's about a freshman in high school to, I don't know, however old you want to be when you read it, however old you decide to pick it up. It doesn't matter. I think Marie Lu, though, tends to hit more of the young adult teenage demographic a little bit because of the fact that there's some romance here and there that happens that you kind of want to happen. Like, there's a lot of shipping. I'm just going to say there's a lot of shipping between characters. But it's so easy to read that someone that's a little bit younger could read it, but it's still very, very complex, and the idea of this governmental power that's very hard to fight off of is something that I think adults would enjoy too. I think it's a really great opportunity for people to really think about what is it in their government that seems wrong. It's definitely a book that makes you, it's a series of books that make you think, which I think is one of the best things that Marie Lu does. So that does it for this book review of the Legend series by Marie Lu. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe and become part of the nest here with all the other little owlets that we have. I really hope you guys like this book. Like I said, I will leave links in the description for all of the books, and I hope you guys do read them, because I think they're really great books. And if you have any other book suggestions, please leave them down in the comments. I'm going to tell you right now, though, it's going to be a long time before I get to them, because currently I have about 7 or 8 other books on my iPad that I still need to read, which I will be reviewing as well. I have 3 books on my shelf right here on my desk. I have 7 or 8 books back home still that I need to read, which all of them I will be reviewing as well. So it's going to take me a while to get to them, but I promise I will get to as many as I can. And some of the books you guys might suggest I might already have in line for reading, so I will let you guys know that. If you guys also have any other suggestions for what you want to see on this channel in general, whether it's like certain kinds of videos, if you want me to do like certain gaming videos or something like that, because I do plan on doing gaming videos hopefully soon, or just anything you guys want me to talk about, just let me know. And if you guys can also follow me on Facebook at The Curious Owl. And yeah, so I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.